Russian President Vladimir Putin says Russia has successfully conducted a test of its nuclear-capable underwater drone known as Poseidon. The announcement was made during a meeting with servicemen wounded in Moscow's ongoing military campaign against Ukraine. Putin confirmed that the test took place on Monday, describing the drone as part of what he called a new generation of advanced strategic systems. He stated, "Yesterday we conducted another test of another promising complex, the Poseidon unmanned underwater vehicle, also with a nuclear power engine." The Poseidon system, sometimes referred to in Western defense circles as a doomsday torpedo, is designed to be launched from submarines and carry a nuclear warhead. It reportedly combines nuclear propulsion with the capability to travel across intercontinental distances underwater, making it difficult to detect and intercept. This marks the second Russian test of a nuclear-capable weapon within a week. Earlier, Moscow confirmed the trial of another long-range system as part of what officials described as ongoing strategic deterrence efforts. The tests come amid heightened tensions between Russia and Western nations following continued fighting in Ukraine and deepening defense coordination among NATO members. Although Russian officials did not specify where the Poseidon test occurred, previous reports have indicated that the system is being developed for deployment on specially modified submarines such as the Belgorod and Khabarovsk classes. These vessels are part of Russia's Northern Fleet and have been undergoing trials in Arctic waters. Defense analysts note that Poseidon represents a shift in Russia's nuclear deterrence strategy. Unlike traditional ballistic or cruise missiles, the underwater drone is intended to approach targets stealthily and detonate near coastal areas, creating massive radioactive waves and destruction over a wide range. Western officials have described the weapon as destabilizing, while Moscow argues it is a legitimate response to US missile defense systems. During the meeting shown on state television, Putin was seen addressing wounded servicemen in a military hospital. The Russian leader reiterated that his government would continue to prioritize new defense technologies despite ongoing sanctions and resource pressures caused by the conflict in Ukraine. He said Russia's armed forces must maintain readiness and technological superiority in all domains: land, air, sea, and undersea. The announcement follows a pattern of public demonstrations of new or modernized nuclear-related systems. In recent years, Moscow has unveiled several strategic weapons, including the Burevestnik nuclear-powered cruise missile and the Sarmat intercontinental ballistic missile. Both systems, like Poseidon, are designed to evade existing missile defenses and extend Russia's deterrent reach. Russian state media have repeatedly highlighted the Poseidon project as a symbol of national technological achievement. The weapon's development was first announced by Putin in 2018 during his annual address to the Federal Assembly, when he revealed a series of so-called invincible systems intended to secure Russia's strategic parity with the United States. US defense officials have not immediately commented on the latest reported test. However, Washington and its NATO allies have previously expressed concern that such demonstrations increase the risk of miscalculation, particularly during a time of active conflict in Europe. Independent verification of the test remains limited. Satellite monitoring and open-source intelligence analysts have not yet confirmed visual or telemetry data related to a Poseidon launch or underwater detonation. Nonetheless, Russia's defense ministry has periodically released controlled footage of undersea drone operations to underscore the program's progress. The timing of the latest test is significant. It coincides with Moscow's broader effort to demonstrate resilience against international isolation and to reaffirm its defense capabilities ahead of upcoming domestic military briefings. It also follows statements by senior Russian officials emphasizing that the country will continue its strategic modernization despite Western economic restrictions. Experts in arms control warn that continued development of nuclear-powered or nuclear-armed autonomous systems complicates existing non-proliferation and verification frameworks. Because Poseidon operates underwater and may not follow traditional missile launch profiles, it falls outside many of the monitoring mechanisms established under past arms limitation treaties, most of which have now expired or been suspended. Russia maintains that its testing activities comply with national and international law, arguing that no treaty explicitly prohibits nuclear-powered undersea vehicles. Officials in Moscow have accused Western nations of hypocrisy, pointing to the expansion of US and NATO military infrastructure near Russian borders. The Kremlin has framed the Poseidon test as part of a broader modernization agenda. It aligns with other strategic programs aimed at ensuring Russia's long-term deterrence capacity and reinforcing its military posture in the Arctic and Pacific regions. The underwater drone's potential integration into the Navy's new submarine fleet is seen as a step toward achieving that goal. At the same time, the announcement underscores the shifting focus of global nuclear dynamics. With traditional arms control frameworks under strain, the emergence of novel systems, including hypersonic and autonomous weapons, raises fresh questions about strategic stability. Analysts suggest that both Moscow and Washington may increasingly rely on technological advances to maintain leverage amid deteriorating diplomatic channels. The Russian president's comments also come as his government continues its military campaign in Ukraine, where fighting has intensified in several regions. Moscow's forces remain engaged along extended front lines, while Kyiv has sought continued Western military assistance. The parallel announcement of new nuclear-capable technologies reinforces Russia's message of military self-sufficiency and deterrent strength. Within Russia, the state-controlled media coverage of the event focused on the president's direct interaction with servicemen and his remarks about defense innovation. The images released show Putin addressing a group of uniformed personnel inside a hospital setting, seated beside senior military officials. In his brief statement, Putin made no mention of specific test results or next steps for Poseidon's operational deployment. However, he emphasized that the system represents one of the most advanced elements of Russia's current strategic development program. He said it was promising, a term often used by Russian defense authorities to denote systems still undergoing experimental validation before full production. Defense observers have noted that operational deployment of the Poseidon complex could take several more years. The supporting submarine infrastructure and control systems require significant testing to ensure safety and reliability, particularly given the drone's nuclear propulsion mechanism. Nevertheless, today's statement signals that development has reached an advanced stage. The Poseidon project is overseen by Russia's Rubin Design Bureau, which has produced the country's leading classes of submarines since the Soviet era. Reports suggest that each Poseidon drone may be capable of carrying a multi-megaton warhead and traveling thousands of kilometers autonomously before detonating near its intended target. International reaction to the test remains muted as of this hour. However, military analysts in Europe and the United States are expected to assess the development closely, given its implications for undersea security and early warning systems. In recent months, Western defense agencies have increased surveillance of Russia's naval activity, particularly in the Arctic and North Atlantic regions. The deployment of autonomous underwater vehicles presents new challenges for monitoring and deterrence strategies, as these systems operate at extreme depths and can remain submerged for extended durations without communication. The timing of Russia's latest tests, both of the Poseidon and the earlier nuclear-capable missile, underscores Moscow's emphasis on strategic deterrence amid escalating global tensions. It also signals continued prioritization of high-profile weapons programs, even as the conflict in Ukraine absorbs significant military and economic resources. As the meeting concluded, state media reported that Putin commended the injured servicemen for their courage and reiterated his government's commitment to supporting the armed forces and veterans. He expressed confidence that Russia's defense industry would continue to deliver results despite what he called external pressure and unprecedented sanctions. The Kremlin has not announced when or if additional Poseidon tests will be conducted. The Defense Ministry typically releases information only after events have occurred, citing operational security. For now, the latest statement confirms that Russia's strategic weapons testing program remains active and advancing. With the Poseidon system again entering the test phase, Moscow reinforces its message that it intends to maintain and expand its nuclear deterrent capabilities in the years ahead. In summary, President Vladimir Putin says Russia has completed a test of its nuclear-powered Poseidon underwater drone, the second nuclear-capable weapons trial in 1 week, underscoring Moscow's continued focus on strategic deterrence amid heightened global tensions.